Comparison will steal your joy. Let's talk about it. What's up, y'all? My name is Elia. I'm a mindset coach. I talk candidly about my journey, as well as share tips to encourage growth and healing and uplift anyone who may struggle with feeling seen. So, let's talk a little bit about how comparing your journey to someone else's can actually steal your joy and block your progress. So it's a very natural thing to look around and see what other people are doing or just kind of see what's going on around you and form an opinion about that. We're humans, we tend to be fairly communal creatures, so that's okay. By itself, that's not an issue. The problem comes in when you fall into this idea or way of thinking of comparing your journey to somebody else's and then actually making judgments on yourself and your journey that may not be the most positive or most constructive things that you could otherwise think and feel about yourself. And looking around and seeing people, accomplish things, acquire things, get married, take trips, whatever that may be, you don't know what it took them to get there. You have no idea the work they had to do to get there. And you also have no insight into parts of their lives that may not be as polished as what you're seeing or what you're comparing yourself to. But by focusing on what you see of other people's journey and from their lives, it's easy to then fall into this grass is greener type of mentality where you think someone is doing so much better than you and that actually can do a couple things that harm you. First, it takes away energy from you and your journey. So that energy that you could be putting into yourself and really building yourself up and developing new skills or just otherwise changing things that maybe you don't like or love about your life, it takes that energy and it throws it out the window because it's not going to do anything outside of you. It's not going to help them. And secondly, it actually can reinforce the negative sentiments and thoughts you have about yourself because, again, by taking that energy away from yourself, you're not pushing forward toward those goals. You're not doing everything you can to really build yourself up and develop yourself, but you still have those negative feelings. You still have the desires and the wishes, and you still seeing that gap in within yourself. So then to fill that gap or to kind of make sense of it, a lot of times we just develop these negative narratives or thoughts or sentiments about ourselves to explain why we can't do certain things as a result of that comparison and really looking out the window too much and not paying attention to what's going on in your own house. And one of the things that I see often impacts this in a very, very big way is social media use, right? Everybody's posting something online. So you're seeing these snippets, you're seeing these snapshots of people's lives without any real context of what's going on behind that. So as always, I want to humanize this stuff, right? That's my goal here. So I want to share a little bit about what this has looked like for me and throughout my journey. Of course, when I was younger, like so many people, had no shortage of people telling me, oh, well, do this, do that. Here's the rubric. Here's how you live a successful and fulfilling life. Problem was, that's not how my life went. I really came to a place where I realized that I wasn't resonating with a lot of the things I had been taught when I was younger because I followed parts of that script and I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel happy. I didn't really feel like I was making progress. So at some point, I started to really feel like I was behind or feel like something was wrong with me because throughout that journey, I was still seeing people around me that I knew get jobs, get houses, get cars, get promotions, reach these milestones that some of which I wanted for myself in my own way, and others of which I kind of just wanted to feel like I was doing something. But I really started to develop a lot of shame around what my life looked like because I felt like I was late to develop financial security. I felt like I was late to really cement myself in a career that I felt aligned and just passionate about. I felt like I was late to find my purpose and my calling and my lane. I felt like I was late to do all of these things. And at some point, I had to really ask myself, well, who's checking the clock? Who's actually keeping time? Me. But it took a lot of work to really get to a point where I believed that my journey, there was nothing wrong with it just because somebody else's journey looked different. And I want to share a few tips that have helped me throughout my journey in hopes that they'll help you. First, it's really important to be mindful that you don't really understand anyone else's journey but yours. Again, you can see snapshots of people's lives, you can see all of this stuff, but you don't really understand what is behind it. And by focusing on what you see, it's easy to tell yourself this story about somebody else, which then makes it easy to tell yourself a negative story about you. But by taking a step back, slowing down, and reminding yourself, I have no idea what's actually going on in anyone else's life, no matter how close you know them, you really don't know. You never completely know, which isn't a good or bad thing. It's just is what it is. But by firmly cementing that understanding that you don't know, it's a little easier to pull yourself back from all this speculation and all these ideas and stories that you would tell yourself by comparing yourself to someone else. Secondly, it's really important to acknowledge the negative feelings that may come up for you as a result of seeing others achieve things or just kind of that act of comparison. There's no issue with having feelings. We're humans, we have feelings. Sometimes we have feelings about ourselves because we see people doing things we may want to do. That's natural and that's perfectly healthy on its own. The issue, again, is what we do with feelings and how we then process and respond to them. But feelings are really important because they're information. By themselves, they're neither positive nor negative necessarily, they're just information. So, by acknowledging those feelings, those negative feelings, and following them and honoring them and giving them space to actually exist and not just suppressing or fighting them away, that can actually tell you and help you identify areas of your life where you may feel like you're lacking or you may want or need a change or otherwise just other areas of your life that could use some more attention so you can feel more fulfilled or feel happy or feel more at peace or whatever insert optimal word here. It can help you identify that and then redirect the energy toward that area of your life, but you have to give those feelings some room to exist because again, they're just information. Outside of that, it's really important to focus on building self-worth and self-esteem outside of accomplishments and possessions. Sure, getting things and getting promoted or getting rewarded or acknowledged is important. Yeah, that feels good. That feels great. And I think it's a very natural thing to desire, especially when you put in the work. You want to see the fruits of that reflected to you. Nothing wrong with that. However, that can't be the entire basis of your sense of self worth or your self esteem because what happens when that's not the case, right? So, by building a sense of self worth, and really getting an idea of who you are, your values, and just where you stand in the world outside of what people are reflecting to you or what you may possess or what accomplishments or accolades you have, how many letters after your name or how big your title is. It's important to have that sense of self and sense of self-worth outside of those things because at the end of the day, you are always going to be you with you, regardless of what your title is or what you have. And you can lose anything nearly overnight. So it's important to develop that sense of self worth outside of the things you have and possess and your accomplishments. And lastly, it's important to use social media with intention. We are all on social media. I'm on it right now. I have my feelings about social media, but I also think it's pretty valuable in many ways. But the thing is, it's important to be very intentional with the usage of social media. Why you on these apps? That's not to say you can't be on there just to be on there because you feel like blowing off some time. Do you? It's your life. Again, truly none of my business, and I don't understand it. I just hope that in this exchange, I'm adding something of value. But again, it's important to have some level of intention or mindful awareness of social media use because it can be easy to just scroll for hours and doom scroll. and see all of this stuff that just then gets encoded into your brain and stored and eventually trickles through your system and tells you you're not doing enough just because you see somebody else on the trip and you ain't taking a trip in 2 years or whatever the case may be. So again, being aware, mindful, and having intentions with social media and at some level having boundaries with its usage, really important. So I hope those tips do help you on your journey. And as always, I want to leave you with a reflective question. And today's question is, how much is comparison costing you? And what can you do to change that today? Think about it.